Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Courtside with Christy and Gabe right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winters-Scott, joined as always by my guy, Gabe Ibrahim. We've got some popcorn for you and some cranberry juice, no ice and a lime, all hoops, all the time, right here on Courtside. Gabe, how are you?
I'm good. I saw there was a comment on our YouTube channel where you should be subscribed and you can get this podcast as well as on all of your favorite podcast apps. That's what they're called now. And our Twitter names just popped up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm assuming you can find us on Twitter. What I was going to say, though, is there's a very nice YouTube commenter who said, every time I hear, hello, everyone from Christy, I know we're going to have an awesome podcast. And she was right. I think I don't actually remember who said it, but whoever said that was right because we got a banger today. I know we say it every week. I know I say this like fairly often too, but like there was actually a lot of different things happening in the world of women's basketball that wasn't just related to the games. So it'll be a little different.
Yeah. It's always a blast to have this platform, number one, to talk about women's basketball, because there is so much that needs to be said that doesn't get said enough. So, definitely grateful for this platform for sure. But, we're going to get things started today, Gabe, on a little bit of a shock and a sad note with Lusia Harris suddenly passing away this week. Only 66 years old, a Hall of Famer, 3-time AIAW champion, silver medalist with USA Basketball, and the first woman to score an Olympic bucket for USA Basketball. Oh, man. Delta State. I mean, she averaged over 25 points a game, 15 rebounds. I mean, just an amazing, talented woman that we didn't really hear enough about, to be honest. And her legacy will definitely live on with her children and her grandchildren. But for me, in the game, I think there needs to be something more that's done to make sure that her legacy is known by the women who are currently playing the game that she helped pave the way for.
Yeah. No, and I'm actually pretty pleasantly surprised to see Lusia Harris's death being covered as much as it is, because as you mentioned, she was in a time in the 70s where women's basketball was just picking up steam, and in part she blazed the trail that led to where we are now, and she didn't get that recognition during her playing days as much as she deserves. So to get it in retrospect is nice. And I actually in 2020, obviously when we were stuck at home, like really, really stuck at home, she was one of the first people that I looked at as someone who I didn't know anything about, because she was pre-WNBA, pre-NCAA, even for most part of her career, pre-Olympics, before the 76 team, right?
Yes.
So she was one of the first people I went back and I found, some writing about, and I found her story very interesting. Bria Felician has some really excellent content on her for the Black Sportswoman and on 538. It's also a really good New York Times documentary on YouTube, which is free. So she has an amazing story, and we've gone this entire time without mentioning that she is the only woman ever drafted into the NBA by the Utah Jazz in 1977.
Yeah, they were in New Orleans at the time, and she said that she didn't actually go to work out with the team because, number one, she felt that she wasn't quite up to par. Mm-hmm. And, in that day and time, as the first woman to be drafted by an NBA team, I mean, this woman stayed up at night as a youngster and watched Oscar Robinson, who she said was her favorite player. She watched Wilt Chamberlain, and she had the blanket over the TV and over her head, and her parents were like, you need to go to sleep, Lucy, you have school in the morning. And she's like, okay, but she would stay and watch it a little longer. And so the Big O was like her most favorite player. But for me, I think those games against Immaculata and in the AIAW championships, and to have Marianne Stanley, who was a member of the Immaculata team, say that we were a pretty darn good team. And for them to beat us, we had some real knockdown battles with them. And she likened Lucy Harris's game to Sylvia Fowles and Tina Charles, you know, of the current basketball on the professional level. And, you know, to hear that, and, you know, to know how dominant those two are in the WNBA and in the Olympics, and multiple gold medals won by those young ladies, to know that she paved the way, like you said, and created this legacy. And maybe she didn't get all that she wanted out of the game, and she didn't have anywhere to play professionally. There was no overseas at that time either. But she said, you know, once she finished at Delta State, she said, I still wanted to play, but there was nowhere for me to go. And that broke my heart, because I'm like, gosh, you're 22 and you have such passion and love for the game, and you don't have anywhere to play. And she was actually pregnant at the time when the NBA drafted her in the 7th round and in 1977. And, you know, she wanted to build a family. And it really is sad, because her youngest son, I believe, is due to get married this year. And so, you know, I know she was really excited about that. But just to research her and to find out these stories and these connections, like with Nancy Lieberman on that team, and Ann Myers Drysdale, who I believe passed her the pass to make the first shot with USA Basketball. I you know, it's just a piece of our history that we need to continue to keep in front of our younger generations, and especially our young girls who are playing and have been afforded the opportunity to compete because of the selflessness and the struggle, quite frankly, that she went through. And she wanted to go to Alcorn State because that was closest to her home, but she couldn't go there because there was only a men's basketball team and not a women's team. She went to Delta State after that, and that was history right there. That was a historic move. And I mean, God bless her. I mean, and it's just really sad that that she passed away suddenly the way she did at 66 years of age. Yeah,
and it's extremely sad, because in part it's good that we have her legacy easily available to us now. But it's sad that came in, you know, essentially the last year and a half of her life, that she didn't get to enjoy as much recognition as we talked about. But another person who ran into her, though, was Pat Summitt. And I read about her in Pat Summitt's book, Sum It Up. You know, she played Summitt was playing at Tennessee Martin. They had to play Delta State, and they got run over by Lucy Harris. And she thought Lucy Harris was the world then in 1976 because of how dominant she was, and then they got to play together. So there's a lot about Harris in that book. But the other thing is, like, it is interesting. I was just thinking about, you know, all the paths that she blazed, that, you know, she didn't get to walk down. So she was pregnant, and in part that's what stopped her from having any sort of professional career, because I think she also had potentially an opportunity in France, but didn't. It didn't work out. But now our players get to have children and play professional basketball.
How about that?
And it's just one of those paths that she blazed, that she put down the stones for, that now we get to walk. And I think it's really, really important that we don't forget about her. And I'm happy with, you know, how the bigger companies are handling this and actually honoring her. I could do it with a little less of just she was the only woman drafted in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's a small part of her legacy.
Small.
It's
small.
It's interesting and cool, but, you know, that is kind of like, I get it. That's what you put in the headline or whatever, but that's just a small part of her legacy. And I think, you know, all those people you just talked about, who talked about how great she was on off the court.
Yeah.
That's the bigger part of her legacy that I hope we get a lot more of.
Absolutely. And just, you know, just to add on to that, Margaret Wade was her coach at Delta State. And while researching and reading about her in the last couple of days here, it was really intriguing to me to hear her story, because she came through and wanted to play basketball in the 1930s, Gabe. And they said that it was too strenuous for women to exercise that strenuously on the court and running and jumping, and, you know, not for women. So in the 40s, they went away from that team at Delta State. And then years later, here she is as the coach. Mm-hmm. And inside of her jacket, she had the little button that said, "Give them hell."
Yeah.
And on the inside, and then she said, you know, Lucy Harris said that it was really, she was really a woman of few words, but she would open her jacket and had that button that said, "Give them hell." And they ran out that door and did that. I just thought that was quite a story as well, because for the journey that Lucy Harris was on, Margaret Wade was also on that journey years before that, and came back not to prove people wrong, but to prove herself right. No. And I think that is the biggest story out of the whole thing, about how women, when they are focused and intentional about what they want for themselves, they get it done. And it's, oh man, it was so empowering. And, you know, I was coaching today at practice, and I just felt different at practice today. And I always have joy when I go in the gym, trust and believe me. But there was like a different feel, because these kids, like, they have no idea about the people before them. And for, you know, C. Vivian Stringer to say, we have to know, we must know where we came from to know where we're going. And I think I really embraced that kind of emotion going into practice today with high school age young women who, outside of basketball, like, what are we grooming in them mentally in terms of their fight for themselves and to stand up for themselves and to do whatever it is that they're going to do in life, but do it to the best of their ability and to do it all out in that lapel button, you know, give them hell, like, whatever you're doing, like, go and do it hard and do it well and fight for what you want. And I think kind of went in there today with that notion in mind, and I'm still pretty fired up, actually.
I can tell. No, and I think it's also just a reminder, though, to people like me, or people like you, if you're interested, like, make sure you know the history of this game, because, I mean, you know, Lucy Harris I felt kind of in the in club for a little while, when I found out about her, and I could say, hey, you know, like, this was a really great player that we are not remembering as much, and now to see everyone kind of talk about her, it's great. So I think it's a lesson to continue to tell as many stories as we can and get to as many people as far back as we can to make sure that those stories of overcoming and of where we came from are remembered. So I'm with it, and it is sad, but it's also it's a good time to remember the people who came before us.
Yeah, and just one last thing on Lucy Harris, Queen Lucy. I know that Shaquille O'Neal said that he was kind of moved to tears by her story and, you know, of her life. And also Robin Roberts did an interview with her most recently, just a couple of months ago. So there are things that you can look at online on YouTube, I believe. There's her documentary, and it's very touching. And the fact that Shaq, you know, watched that and just really was touched by her sacrifice and her resilience and persistence with what she wanted and what she wanted to do, you know, within the game. And so it's, you know, it is sad, like you said, but at the same time, it rings the bell for all of us to make sure that we are keeping these legends of the game on our minds when we are carrying the torch for them through the game with our younger generation of young women who are going to be great leaders, you know, once they finish their degrees and then they become parents and they're going to lead their own seedlings, you know. I just think that it's vitally important for us to empower them into being fantastic leaders. And I think this is a gentle, if not a gigantic reminder that we need to be doing that.
No, I agree. And there's not a great segue here, but to get to that younger generation of leaders, do you want to talk about Caitlin Clark, someone perhaps as dominant as Lucy Harris was? No, not yet. We'll talk. They're not even in first place in their conference, but the offense for Caitlin Clark has been unbelievable in Big Ten play. You just got to see her twice, right? Twice? No, there's a one game in a row. right?
Yeah, one in the middle of it, but
Right.
the last 2 weekends I've seen her live, and I've enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, and did you got to like talk to her and interview her
I
for right?
did. I did. Well, I caught up with her after the first game. That was at Nebraska 2 weeks ago. And that's my girl. I don't know what it is about Caitlin Clark. I don't know. It's like we're the same spirit, or something. Like we connect. But she is just a sparkling young lady who, people will label her passion and her exuberance for the game as something negative. And I'm going to stand up for that, because I hate that women are, put into some box when it comes to displaying their fierce competitive fire. Like, we're not going to sit around singing Kumbaya, sipping lemonade with a pinky up all the time. We can do that. And that's fun when you decompress and you're in that space and moment. But when you're competing, Gabe, leave those women alone and let them fight, and let them show that their work in the gym in the summer when no one sees them is paying dividends at that moment in the game. And stop painting this picture of women who are doing that are arrogant or angry, or look at her like she's a poor sport. She's not, okay? She is doing what she is feeling. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think in today's climate, when everyone's talking about mental health and all of those things, why are we asking people to repress their emotions? I mean, that's who she is. That's what she does. That she worked her butt off to be able to have 3 triple doubles this year. I saw her in 2 games on each of the weekends combined for 62 points. And she had 31 in each of the games. Let that girl play and let her fly free. I was there for the last game. She had a triple double in the last game against Nebraska, 31, 10, and 10. If you don't leave that girl alone, I mean, I think I'm her personal bodyguard at this point. Like, I am so protective of her, because I just, Serena Williams, same deal. It's like, let her play and display the same kinds of emotion as everybody else, and stop labeling her as mean, angry, arrogant, poor sport. Stop doing it. It's not fair. And let them have the joy of the game, and let them play with passion, and let those younger players know that that's okay to do. She's not in anybody's face, She's like running up the court like, yes, like that's not bad. Like Steph Curry and LeBron and everybody else can do it. But when she does it, it's like, oh my God, look at her. Like, no, oh my God, look at her. She's enjoying the game. It's not the news at 6 o'clock. It's the game of basketball. Let her play it.
One of my favorite sports quotes is from Jimmy Johnson, former coach of the Miami Hurricanes. When the Miami Hurricanes were an arrogant bunch of jerks, but he said, because Miami loved to dance in the end zone, he said, if you don't like us dancing in the end zone, if you don't like us dancing, don't let us get in the end zone. Same thing for Caitlin Clark. You don't want her to have a good time, don't let her have a good time. She's getting loose. Like, the reason she is talking, and I'll tell you, so I agree, she's not a poor sport. I personally love it. I could see how she could be very annoying to play against, though. I could see why the opponents don't want to play against her, because she's averaging in Big Ten play at the moment, 28 points, 9.6 assists, both tops in the conference, and 7.8 rebounds. That's 10th in the conference, only player in the top 10 of all 3 categories. She's the only player in the conference averaging 20 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. As you mentioned, has had 2 triple doubles in 5 conference games so far in the Big Ten, which is not easy.
Yes.
And she has a 37.3 PER, which is in the 100th percentile of the nation, which is very good. So good. I see why other teams may get mad at her, because it's infuriating to play against her, because she's unstoppable. She is so smooth. It kind of seems like effortless at times. And she does things that I can see being extremely annoying. Like, she flopped, and I know you're calling that game. I know you saw this. The 2 flops that she had.
Oh, well, yeah.
She had one where this was just a vet play. Like, she just kind of jumped into someone with her arm on the layup, got the and one. And there's one where I don't know who it was for Nebraska, just kind of like touched her wrist And Caitlin freaked out like she touched a hot stove. It was like, ah, and on the foul, and everyone was dying on the court. So I can see why she's annoying to the other team, because she's just so good.
Well, she's crafty. And, with the USA basketball, she was the leader on that team over the summer. Mm-hmm. And let's just be sure, when you just said she's a vet, she's a sophomore. Yeah. She led the country in scoring as a freshman, but she has vet tendencies in terms of her basketball acumen and IQ. Mm-hmm. And so she just knows what to do to get the job done, whatever job that is, whether it's selling the contact on a shot or on a drive. She knows how to do that. Okay. And I don't know, it's who she is. And I tell you what, I know that there were some fans who were giving her a rough time on the road. And some of the things that were said to her, I mean, this is a kid. I mean, she's 20, right? 19 or 20 years old. And I believe 19, I don't think she's 20 yet, but she's 19 years old, and we have grown adult men, right? It was a man, because he was right behind us and I heard him.
In Nebraska?
And yeah. And this isn't saying anything about the Nebraska women's team. So let's just make sure I'm not saying that the Nebraska team, okay? It was a fan there who was out of pocket by saying some things to Caitlin Clark that were just not appropriate and very unprofessional. And these kids, I mean, they're not pros, but now, I mean, they do have, the NIL, but anyway, I mean, whatever. But I mean, these are kids. And I'm like, why are you saying that to her? And then when she responds, then it's like, oh, look at Caitlin Clark yelling at a fan. And I'm like, no, she told him to shut up, or she was like, why are you saying that to me? Like, and said something to the official. She didn't say shut up, but she said something to the official, like, why are we letting the fans just say whatever they want to us? And what are we supposed to do? And I know you're in the heat of battle, and fans know that, but you can't, come at kids like that. I mean, you can't come at pros. Like, you can't come at anybody. Like, if you have class, you're not going to come at players on the court and say things that will, get them off track, or like, wow, I can't believe you said that. Yeah. And it was really mean-spirited. It is embarrassing. And it was mean-spirited. And then we're asking these 19-year-olds to just stay within the line, stay focused and committed to the task at hand. And then you have these out-of-pocket adults coming at these kids. Stop doing that. And then when the players react or say something or pump up the crowd, she scored that bucket, and that was right after that. Okay. Right. That was right after that. I mean, and then don't label her and get angry with her. I mean, that's the response. And I know you always see the second thing, you never see the first thing. But there were some first things, that happened in that particular game. And get off her back and let her fly free and play, and let us enjoy how she plays, because she's a baller.
And also, road fans, hey, maybe don't poke the bear. In the game against Nebraska, she had 31 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists. Maybe just a thought. Don't antagonize her, because she clearly feeds off this stuff, and she does enjoy it though. She relishes that role, I think. When she's playing at home, she's having fun, but you see it really come out, and you see this for a lot of stars too.
Sure.
They love being on the road, because it's fun to win at home, but it's really fun to shut up those fans on the road. And she does it. She does it. She has been just stunning in all her performances so far in the Big Ten. Obviously, it's only 5 games, but when you look at the teams she's played against, I mean, Northwestern, very good defense. Nebraska, very good defense. Purdue's a pretty good defense, and Michigan State, she tore apart as well. And it's just do not give her more of a reason to come at you, because it is just like, it's playing with fire. And this year, so what she's doing better this year, because her shooting is down. Her shooting percentages are down.
From 3, yeah.
Her shooting percentage from 3 is way down. I think she's at like 27%. So she's at 22.7% in the nation. However, despite all that, she's still super efficient, because her assist to turnover ratio has gone through the roof. The free throw rate is through the roof. She's getting to the line. She's going downhill, and she's finding people on some passes that don't make sense,
Right.
And one of them, I swear, it was like she had the idea before even like Monica Cesano, like Cesano posted up, had a sliver. I'm talking about a sliver against Nebraska. And I think she just kind of accidentally put her hand up and the ball was there. The ball hit from Caitlin Clark, a pass, hit Monica Cesano in the hand and bounced out of bounds. And Cesano was like, that's my fault. That's a perfect pass. I didn't know it was coming because it was before the play had developed. Also, just the passing to go along with all that shooting, with all that playmaking, makes her efficient despite not shooting three ball very well. Yeah. And to me, it's just been incredibly impressive. I'm very stoked for the rest of her Iowa career and her WNBA career, which will be long and fruitful.
Absolutely. Same here. And I think, you have to understand that when, as a freshman, you lead the country in scoring and you're striking from logo range from three, defenses are going to be schemed to make it a lot more difficult for you to get your jumpers off. And she likes to take a dribble to the left and fire that thing. People know now. Yeah. So I think, your sophomore year is always a year of countering what teams know about you and what they're trying to take away. Now you have to reconfigure and try to hit the reset button on, okay, they're taking that away. How else can I get loose? And I think she's in the process of that right now. Yeah. And it's not like she's taking bad shots. I know I asked Lisa Bluter about that, the head coach at Iowa, and just about her percentage, being a little bit different than last year. And she said she just wanted her to slow down and to take good threes. And, and that's harder, like I said, with the defense coming at her in different ways and waves. I think that she just has to have her feet set. She has to make sure that she's in her shot, in rhythm, and she's on balance. And I think this year defenses have done all that to her, gotten her off balance, gotten her out of rhythm. Yeah. So the percentages are showing that.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, though, because I noticed that she did pass up a couple open, not open, but, threes that I think she may have taken. Yeah. And the other thing you said is true. Like she takes tough shots, but they don't feel like bad shots. And I don't know if it's just because, she's such a superstar that she's already at that point where it's like, just shoot the ball, like whatever. But I think a lot of her tougher shots, the ones that are off balance, they still feel like they're pretty good looks for her. I don't know if you agree with that.
I agree. I think there are a couple times. I mean, it's almost like some of them, not all of them, but some of them feel like those are the same looks she had last year and got them down.
Right.
And maybe it's just the release point or the speed, her release speed has changed. Maybe, I don't know. Mechanically has her shot changed? I'm not sure of that, but it just seems like some of the looks were very similar. And I know, she was knocking those in last year. Maybe it is body balance, and maybe it is, not hanging with the shot long enough, or I don't know. I'm going to watch it a little tighter next time I have them. So I was supposed to have Iowa and Indiana on Sunday, but now Indiana is on, unfortunately, a COVID pause. So I'm going to miss that game because that was going to be a doozy, and one that I think I had marked early in the season as one that was a must see. So hopefully they reschedule that, and hopefully I get reassigned to it because I was really looking forward to that game. That was going to be a showdown. That was going to be a showdown, especially with how Iowa plays on the offensive side and how Indiana plays on defense.
No, I was really looking forward to that one. I got a little sad remembering that it's not gonna go down. There's a few games that are being affected. I don't think either of the Jones sisters are playing tonight. Iowa State against Texas,
right?
Due to COVID protocols. So that's a little disappointing, but Indiana Iowa game would have been a great one. We'll see. It'll probably happen later in the season, obviously.
Yeah, I'm like, please, and then put me on it.
Yes.
Big Ten. Let's go.
Big Ten Network execs. I know you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Put Christy.
I want to go back on that game. Put me back on that game. Yeah. So that'll be a good one. But I think with Iowa, they're back in the top 25. After being bounced out after those couple of losses. But I really think that their COVID issues that they had in November, they didn't take their Thanksgiving trip. And I think it took them some time to get back in rhythm as a team. And, those losses that they took, those were tough. I think it was Duke, and then Iowa State got them in it. It was just compounding. So I think now they're getting back on track with stacking up a couple of wins, 3-4 wins together, and right in the thick of things with conference play. So hopefully everyone stays healthy and we get what we get, and don't get upset. I love it.
Yeah, they're
what they look like.
They're third. Well, they're tied for third. It's weird because not everyone has played the same amount of games. They're tied for third in the Big Ten right now.
Right.
So, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe in this team's defense. No offense to Iowa, but their defense is they're pretty. The thing about Iowa's defense, I'll give them this: they're always near the ball. What they don't do well is actually contest a shot, but they're close. And I feel like that's something that the worm could turn at some point in the season. It's like, oh, we're finally like getting our hands up without fouling into these shot contests rather than just standing next to the person. But I don't know how much I buy their defense at the moment.
Yeah. I think they're pretty solid with it. I think that's what got them out of two big holes against Nebraska both times they played. I mean, Nebraska shot out of a cannon. I think it was 30-14 in the first quarter of this most recent game with Nebraska. But then I think it was the defense that got them back into it. And as much as we talk about Iowa's offense, and I think they're pretty staunch on the defensive end when they are pushed to the limit, back against the wall. They rely on their defense to get their offense going, whether that's getting in the passing lanes and getting live ball steals or getting those boards. I think Warnock, she is an underrated player, doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, she is leading at the time. I don't know if she still is, but I know that she was leading the team in rebounding going into that game. I'm not sure afterwards what the point decimals after her, look like, but
I'll let you know.
She was up there. Isn't she leading the team in rebounding?
Currently, Caitlin Clark is currently leading the team in rebounding.
Never mind.
There you go.
Is it close though? It's close.
Yeah, it's close. No, you're so Warnock is at 7.9 and Caitlin Clark's at 8.2 because she had I don't remember exactly how many rebounds. I think she had like 12 rebounds against Nebraska. A lot of those rebounds too are what I would call the Russell Westbrook special, where everyone gets out of the way so that Caitlin Clark can take it and push the ball.
Everybody's boxing out.
Yeah, everyone's boxing out for her to get the rebound. So I think McKenna's rebounding numbers would be a little bit higher if that wasn't the case.
I believe.
There's also a purpose to those Russell Westbrook rebounds, and we're not talking about Russell Westbrook, so I won't get into it. But there's a purpose to those, and it's to let Caitlin Clark get out and run the offense. So McKenna sacrificing for the team, but yeah, she's second in rebounding. I like this. I like this team. I like this team a lot. They have some things that I think the upper echelon of women's basketball can take advantage of. The rim protection is not that great. They are a little handsy on defense, but like you're mentioning, they are currently 74th in the country in defensive rating. So better. That's in the 79th percentile, folks. That's high. Remember, you want to be in the 100th percentile. That's the best. So 79 percentile is a pretty good number for them. Better than I expected. So, hey, circle Iowa. Let's see how they come along here in the Big Ten.
Keep an eye on them.
You want to know another team got circled? The Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, snap.
Katie Meyer got her first ranked win. And they had the thing here and everything. I think it was like 2019. We haven't had I went to Miami, folks.
I know you're a hurricane.
Let me have it.
You can have it. Permission.
I have it in my notes somewhere how long ago or the last ranked win was. It doesn't matter. Go Canes. They get the win against Georgia Tech. It was a gross game. Did you catch any of this game?
I did not. Okay. I had some travel snafus coming on back.
Oh, really? What happened?
Last weekend. There was some gauge or something. We had to deplane and then I had to get a different flight, hopping around because of the weather and whatnot. And so, yeah, but I'm back home. So, clearly I'm back in the humble abode. But yeah, so I didn't get to watch a lot of the games. There was like an extra, couple hours.
Oh, really?
That's all I'm going to say. I'm not complaining, but it was quite something.
It's okay. You can complain. This is a safe space. I know you have a phobia of getting stuck in Iowa or Nebraska. No offense to Iowa or Nebraska. It's just not home, folks.
No, I just want to go home. That's all. Yeah, there are a couple things, but I made it back in one piece. When they say, you get on the plane, it's quite arduous when you're loading all your stuff in. You get to your seat, you buckle in and everything like that. Everybody's all gathered nicely. And then the captain gets on and he says, "This is your captain. I have bad news. There's a gauge that's missing from the engine. We need to deplane." And everyone's looking around like, what? Then I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to be on the plane if it doesn't have a screw in it or something like that. I'm out of here. I'm good. Get me on the next one. I'm fine. No, it wasn't like, we just had, you know what I'm saying? Like planes, trains, automobiles. It was like that. But, it's frustrated to get off, but I didn't want to stay on there, if that makes sense. Fair enough. I was like, I don't want to stay and fly without parts. I was like, I'm out. So, had to go around and get on back some kind of way. And I got back.
Oh, there you go.
So
we're glad.
It was quite
you're
something
back.
Though. It was quite something, the weekend. And yeah, I didn't know what day it was for like a day and a half after I got back. So I was like, what's happening? Okay, I'm back. To snap back into reality.
To put a bow on Miami, they held Georgia Tech to their lowest offensive output of the season, 45 points. Miami wins 46-45. I enjoyed the game because it's my team, and there was plenty of defense happening. Offense is not
in the 40s. Was it 46-45?
It was 46-45. Georgia Tech scored 4 points in the fourth quarter there.
Oof.
So Miami played great defense. You gotta give it up to defense. And all right, I know not everyone's interested in talking about Miami because they're a middle.
No, I am. I love me some Katie Meyer. That's my girl.
When we watched them against Maryland, they were pretty dang close to that upset. They were pretty dang close. They played NC State really hard. And, so they've and Indiana, they had a really good game against Indiana. So don't sleep on the Canes. They did lose to Duke by 9 on a game that was on a Tuesday afternoon for, I forget, there was a string of like COVID absences and teams.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, we just have to play this game on Tuesday. So they lost that game. However, they have a couple other chances to pull off some upsets and maybe get into the tournament conversation. I don't know, but we'll see. I'm still mad at Megan Gower and Calvin Wetzel for making fun of the Canes on their preview for one of the holiday tournaments. You can go listen to Unplugged too. I know you would.
I would never. Because my husband went to Miami, so I have some kind of connection with the Canes. So. And shout out to Leonard. Yeah, and shout out to Leonard Hamilton for Florida State beating Duke. So
yes,
that was my husband's coach, Leonard Hamilton. Right. So,
yeah. Leonard was at Miami for a long time, and I was at FSU, which I'm fine with. That's fine. That's just our biggest rival. He was also with the Wizards, so a lot of Christy connections for Leonard Hamilton.
Woo-woo. I like it. I like it.
No, it's go Canes. Go Canes. Canes also beat the men's team, beat up on the UNC and Duke this year. So going great.
Yeah,
women just need a couple more ranked wins. Yeah. Guys are probably in the tournament by now. Hey, looking good for Miami basketball because Miami football is not good. That's I do want to stay with the ACC for one more thing though.
Okay.
Because we have number 3 Louisville at number 4 NC State tomorrow night.
Okay.
I don't know this, but I'm pretty sure Debbie Antonelli is going to be on the call. It's on ESPN. It's in Raleigh. That seems like Debbie territory. So I'm gonna go with Debbie's on the game, and it's gonna be an awesome one. I'm just so excited to see how these two teams match up. I mean, the class of the ACC. I think by a couple measures now. And I think whoever wins this game probably has the leg up on being the number 2 team in the country.
Yeah, I just think, with how they have both been solid this season. I mean, they've taken some scares. They've had close games, as we were just kind of discussing. They've had close games, but they've been able to prevail at the end. So I think this is going to be a real showdown. We were talking about the Iowa-Indiana game that was coming up for Sunday that's now postponed. Was, one of those games you're going to be really eyeballing to see who's going to grit that one out. And I'm doing the same thing for this game. I mean, which team is going to have their will shine through? And it's got to be done, and it's got to be sustained from beginning to end. And I think that's going to be the challenge. I know Louisville has had some games where they start out great and then hit some lulls, and they cannot afford to do that against NC State because they're going to keep plowing at them. So I think that's going to be a really, really good challenge for both teams to see who can sustain their grit the longest and who can compete the hardest. And those are the most fun games to watch and obviously keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I mean, I think this could turn into a bit of a slugfest, which is kind of like par for the course at this point in the ACC. As I just mentioned, the Miami-Georgia Tech game was in the 40s. I think this one will be a little bit higher, but both these teams are like definitely defense oriented, looking for the stops more than the scores, which has gotten both teams in trouble at certain points against inferior opponents. But here, I think just like the guard matchups, like Haley Van Nith, Reina Perez, you have so many great players on both sides. We'll see. I think so I'll tell you what our model says. Okay. The Her Hoop Stats model says it's a 5.6 point margin in favor of NC State.
Oh, wow.
68.7% chance of winning for NC State. That seems a little high to me.
That's high. I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Those lulls did not do Louisville any favors, with that kind of formula, coming to that conclusion. I think they've factored that in, but
how much does home court matter here? I mean, because now in the past couple of years, we really haven't had home court. But how much do you think home court matters in a game of this magnitude where it's going to be rocking in NC State for a conference game?
Well, I know that helped Iowa against Nebraska when they started slow in that game, and that crowd brought them back to life and carried them all the way through on the wave. So I always say that home court should give you a 10-point advantage. Ooh. That's what I always say. And I know that's a lot, but mentally, and vice versa. Like you have to go in to an opponent's home court thinking they already have a 10-point lead because they're here. So I think I've always had that mentality. And not that it's statistical and it's not a formula on Her Hoop Stats, like by any means.
We don't do the formulas on Her Hoop Stats for the record. We have no part in that. We don't understand them. They just give them to us and then we repeat what they say.
Right. So I don't think it's not mathematical and it's not statistical. I think it's more of like what it feels like. And sometimes, sometimes there are 10-point wins that feel like 20-point wins, right? But then there are 10-point wins that feel like a 1-point win, right? So it's all about what that feels like for you. But I think you always have to go into a hostile environment with the mindset that we're down 10-0 before the jump ball.
Yep.
And so it just makes you know that they have an advantage of being there. And you have to get yourself together and be ready to go, knowing that it's going to, not be an advantage for you to be away. And for the home team, it's like, hey, we have a 10-point lead. I mean, as a coach, it's like at the end of practices, we do up 6, down 6 with 2 minutes to go and go with situations and then flip it and give the other team the advantage and see who can hold on to the lead. And I think it's a healthy way to compete, but it's also, I think it gives you that edge. Like I said, if you feel like you're walking into a hostile environment, it gives you an edge to know that you have to fight for it. Right. And then on the other side of that, you're the home team. You have an advantage because you're at home, but can you sustain that advantage? Like, can you make that advantage work for you? So I think that 10-point swing, could go either way, but I think players should maybe think of it that way so that they're locked in and focused regardless of where they're playing.
No, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about that mentality coming in. We'll see. I'm probably gonna go. I'm probably picking NC State, but I don't know. I like the Louisville, and when they're going, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out. I have no clue who the best team in the ACC is because we haven't seen these two teams play. Whoever wins this game is the best team in the ACC. If you're looking for some WNBA draft prospects, you got them. Elisa Cunane for NC State.
Yeah.
Probably going to be a top 5 pick. I don't know how the draft's going to shake out. Emily Angsler is going to be I don't know. She may not be a diamond in the rough by the time we get to the tournament. She's making a name for herself as a perimeter focus, big-ish, a wing. Okay. The players you want nowadays, she falls into that category. I want to see her. I want to see her play against this NC State front court.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for that one. Do you want to make a preemptive pick? I'm picking NC State. So we'll say that.
Oh man, I'm going to go with a close game.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Louisville on it.
Louisville.
I think they've had some really knockdown, drag out, fights this season, and they've had the close game. So I think they're battle tested in that way. So, and I know NC State has been too, but I don't know. There's just there's an edge about Louisville that I can't quite count them out.
Yeah. We'll see who has a motivation edge too. I mean, I don't know. NC State's look really strong. They've been cruising. It has actually kind of gone under the radar, I think, to a certain extent, how well they played. Right. But we'll see. They are the number 2 team in the country, so take what I just said with a grain of salt. So it's not that under the radar. They're under some people's right. I don't think they're going to be the number 1 team in the country, but that's going to be a good one on Thursday. For the ACC, and then there's a bunch of big games in the Big 12, but I'm pretty upset about Ashley Jones being out for some of them because a lot of them involve Iowa State.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to talk about that. Do you want to talk quickly? We have time. Athletes Unlimited, the basketball rosters are out for the WNBA offseason league that I'm not entirely sure how it's supposed to work out. Has a unique format. All of the games going to be played in Las Vegas.
Right.
They're going to be picking teams every week or something. I don't know. But just let me read off some of the players that are involved here because it's a pretty nice list of players. You have Kelsey Mitchell.
Yeah.
Mercedes Russell, Lexi Brown. Hey, my dog is now being upset by something.
Hey, buddy. Oh.
He's on the camera. I need to let him out. This is the perils of.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, we're still live out here. Oh, look at Gabe being a good dog daddy.
Siggy, you have to make an appearance.
Oh, you're a good dog dad.
It gets very annoying if you don't give him exactly what he wants at all times.
Oh, he's sweet.
So I mentioned Mitchell, Russell, Brown, the 3 players listed at the top of this article by Michelle Vopel, which is interesting because all 3 of them are ahead of Natasha Cloud, who I think is kind of one of the leaders of this.
Yeah.
But we have Dejanay Carrington, Kiki Herbert-Harrigan, Tiana Hawkins, who's a free agent, Jonathan Lavender, Odyssey Sims, who's probably not going to be back with the Dream, reportedly, according to Spencer Nussbaum.
Yeah.
Courtney Williams, who will definitely not be back with the Dream next year. So we got free agents here. We have Kalani Brown's coming back, Essence Carson, Sydney Colson's coming back, a bunch of Amani Stafford McGee's coming back by I
love that.
Law school.
Yeah.
And who else do we have here? And Ty Young's gonna be back. So I'm interested in this not only as like more women's basketball, because great, I'm always down for that. But also, I wonder if this is going to end up turning into kind of a tryout area for some players that maybe don't want to take the risk of going over to Europe, but still want to show off their skills in a place that WNBA can do.
I like that. I think it's like kind of and not that it's a G League, but I think with regards to it being kind of a training ground and an opportunity, like you said, to show the worst for their wares, right? Like you have to get in front of these GMs in the WNBA and all the names that you just had. I mean, those are going to be some rough games. Like those are going to be tough, competitions to watch. So that's going to be a lot of fun just to see what it looks like. But I think it does give our women a chance to stay on U.S. soil and play and still be able to be with their families. And, especially with COVID doing what it's doing again right now, I think it's awesome, for them to have this opportunity. And I know it's going to be broadcasted, so we get a chance to watch it and cheer them on. But I love the opportunity for them to be able to kind of use it as another avenue to have an opportunity to get to the WNBA or to get back into the WNBA.
Or just get in shape. Just to get in shape. I think Courtney Williams is going to eat this league alive. So is Kelsey Mitchell. Like, when it's more, I think from what I can understand about it, it's going to be a little bit more of a pickup feel than sort of, heavy coaching strategies, practice. Seems like there's going to be more of a, because they're picking teams more often and they're changing teams more often. Right. It's going to be more of a pickup feel. So it's going to be interesting. Like, I think Courtney Williams is going to dominate in a pickup game. I'm taking Courtney Williams. I'm taking Odyssey Sims. I'm taking Kelsey Mitchell, the buckets, because they're just going to get their own shot. The broadcast crew was really cool and interesting. I don't remember who all was on it. I should have written that down before we got on the podcast. Cheryl Swoops is a part.
Swoops is a part, and I think Jantel Lavender is a part.
Okay.
Not sure who else.
I don't know. Whatever. It'll be great. Yeah, more women's basketball. More women's basketball. Just lovely. I don't care. Like any amount of it is not enough.
That's right.
But yeah, we'll see how that goes, because I think it's going to be another interesting thing. We have a bunch of other basketball. Obviously, we have more college, and then we have the FIBA World Cup qualifiers coming up.
Yes. How about that?
Oh, let's talk about the coaches. We had this, and I totally forgot about it. Cheryl Reeve, who is the head coach now of the women's national team, added essentially half of the WNBA coaches to her.
How awesome is that?
It's really great. Awesome. It's Mike Tebow, which makes sense because the games are here. Vicky Johnson, Kurt Miller, and James Wade. So five of your currently 11 WNBA coaches, because Phoenix is dragging their feet still. We have 5 of them, and then Sandy Brundello is a coach of Australia, and then who am I missing?
I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know.
It's fine. I'm missing one coach who's on another staff. But we were talking, all the other coaches who are currently not on an international team staff should get together and like have an access against this. Noah Quinn's on Canada staff.
Noah Quinn.
Yeah.
You're right.
Noah Quinn is on Canada staff as an assistant. So there's 4 coaches who need to be on a staff against the WNBA USA women's coaching staff.
Right.
We could get some nice rivalries, and then everyone has a lot of beef. That'd be great for everyone. Yeah,
I can't wait for that. And congratulations to all involved with USA basketball and the coaches. And I love that Mike Tebow is going to be back with the Olympics. I know that he was on the Olympic staff with USA basketball. I believe it was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
I
think it was 2008. I believe it was 2008, and he was assistant coach on that team.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yep.
Yay!
He was an assistant and for the World Championships in 2006.
Okay.
We'll see if I don't know if this is I don't know what the deal is for the Olympics, because I think this is just for the qualifying tournament that's in DC. So I don't know. I feel like Mike's like, I'm not going. Well,
it's right here in DC.
Well, this one's in DC. Where's the next Olympics? Oh, wait, the next Olympics are in LA.
Paris.
Oh, no, Paris. Right, we're going.
And we're going. Right?
Courtside in Paris. The podcast has to make it to at least 2024. We can be in Paris.
We're stamping that. We're going. Stamp the passport. We're going to Paris.
I could see Mike though being like, I'm good. Like I could take the break during the year. I'll see you guys in Paris otherwise, but I'm not going to work.
I love it. But he's just so great. I love him. And, I love that they have the relationships that they do in the WNBA as coaches, and they're staying together to, build this massive powerhouse and go for an 8th gold medal. I mean, it's just amazing when you think about that, but just to hold it down for the country in that regard, I think is really a beautiful thing. So,
and keep an eye out for trades right after this, because I think these tournaments will be there's training camp February 5th to the 9th. The tournament's the 10th to the 12th. By that point, we should have a good idea of where the top free agents have gone.
Yeah.
And perhaps there's some movement on the restricted market that may go down between these teams. I'm excited to come up with many theories related to this. It's like when LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh all went to China together.
Oh, yeah. And we were like, what's happening?
And they all came up with a plan. Let's see what kind of plans James Wade and Cheryl Reeve and Kurt Miller all come up with.
Yeah, there's like a banana boat or something like that.
In the Potomac. Better hold on to the banana boat. You don't want to be in the Potomac, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, now we need this to happen. Okay, we gotta make some calls, Christy. We need to get them on a banana boat in the Potomac. Also, just a last note though, Simone Augustus is now on the committee, the U.S. USA Basketball Women's National Team Committee, which is chaired by Jennifer Rosati. Now includes Simone Augustus, who retired last year.
Love it.
So
I love it.
Staying in our basketball lives.
Terrific. I love it. And kudos to all. And that brings us right back around to Lusia Harris, and, which is the USA basketball connections across the board in our game. How beautiful is that, though? The whole tie-in. It's awesome stuff.
And keeping everyone together. Keeping people working in women's basketball. It's a good thing, because then all that knowledge stays in. So what didn't happen for Lucy is going to happen for Simone. So
that's right.
That's exciting. Beautiful. Although now I cannot get the banana boat with Cheryl. You know what? I'm photoshopping that.
Do that. I'll retweet it, because I just thought it just felt like it was just right to say.
I'm photoshopping that. We're gonna get the banana boat with Cheryl Reeve and company.
I love it. No, it's gonna be exciting, and I love that it's in DC. So hopefully a lot of people will be able to go. It's right down at ESA, and it'll be fun to get everybody back in the gym again. It's exciting. I want to see that.
Nice. It's gonna be good times. That's all I got though. I mean, there's a ton more stuff we can get to. We only have 3 minutes before I make a sign off, because everything's under an hour here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network.
Under an hour. All right, we'll get out. But I did want to send condolences to Brenda Freeze and her family and the loss of her father, Bill, on Sunday. They played Michigan that same day and scored the fewest points in program since 9-year stretch, for that. So I just feel really badly for her. And I know he lived a long 89 years, but there's nothing like, losing your girl dad, and it's very tough to see her in that kind of grief, but she knows that he's no longer in pain. And I just wanted her to know that we love her here at Her Hoop Stats. And I know that I'm speaking for the entire basketball community that, love and condolences are definitely going out to her. And Bill is survived by his wife, Donna, of over 60 years. I mean, and they have they have 6 kids and so many grandkids. And it's just that moment that Brenda put that net around his neck at the Big Ten tournament last year is a moment that I will never forget. And that just encapsulates, it's bigger than basketball. It's always about family and that connection. So on that note, I know it was somber at the beginning and a bit somber here at the end, but it's all hoops all the time, but life and family is what ties us all together. And I just wanted to make sure we said something about Brenda before we concluded today, but that's going to do it for this edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe. They're cutting the lights out on us. You don't have to go home, but we got to get up out of here. We're going to bring you all hoops all the time next time, right here on Courtside. I'm Christy Winters-Scott for Gabe Ibrahim, and we'll check you out next time.